All right, everybody, welcome to another fun walkthrough. Today we're doing boats from CyberSecLabs. I've already powered on the box. This was my first attempt at a Windows machine from CyberSecLabs, and it was a really fun walkthrough, so let's go ahead and get started. I've already powered on the box. I've added it to my host file. I've connected to the VPN, so the first thing really to do is kick off scans. So let's do that. We'll come over here, make sure that our hosts entry works. Yep, we can ping the box. So the next thing to do is kick off auto recon. Now, auto recon on this box will take a while to run. I think it just has to do with it being a Windows machine. If you wait long enough, you're going to see port 80 come back along with a database port and some pretty high-level stuff. I didn't do enumeration beyond this first exploit I found. I'm sure there might be other ways you can compromise the box, but we are going to focus on the website this time. So while that's running, we'll browse out to boats.csl, and you see here a pretty basic WordPress site. You can confirm that with wordpress.org over here, proudly powered by WordPress, all sorts of things. And the thing I really want you to focus in on is if you go to a post, you can find a username, James, that might correspond to the usernames on the computer. It might not. You can also cue in on the second thing. Over here in Meta, they have a link to thecartpress.com, and up here they have a link to a shopping cart. If you browse to that, you don't really see much, but if you look at the source, you'll find in the header here a plugins folder and then the cart press. So that's kind of the first real place I'm going to check. So if I come out to exploit database and do a search for the cart press, you're going to find this remote file inclusion. Now, another way you might be able to find this is waiting for auto recon to run, identifying a WordPress site, and then kicking off WP scan. That worked for me the very first time I exploited this box, but I don't know if it's an issue on CyberSecLabs' box or what. Every other time I've run WP scan since, it hasn't shown any plugins at all, even though this plugin exists. That being said, the original time it did confirm it was version 1.1.1. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Okay, so this exploit is remote file inclusion. So I need to have a file somewhere on my page or on my box to share. And it provides a proof of concept path. So we'll go ahead and save this through WP content. And the next thing we're going to do is go find a shell to use. So if you go to GitHub and Naman Sahori's GitHub, or my own where I've forked it, you will find a remote file inclusion shell. This is a great little shell that allows you to run commands from it. And really all you have to do is download it, change the .text to .php, and save it on your web server. So I've already done that over here. We'll minimize auto recon and let that go. And if I browse out to boats.csl/exploit, results /boats.csl/exploit, you'll see I have shell.php here. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and run sudo python pacm simple http server and share port 80. And now we can go to that boats website. And we'll paste our proof of concept. These last three characters, the RFI path. We'll throw our own and go to shell.php. Okay, so now we have a shell that box is accessing. And you can do a proof of concept by running like dir. So here's the directory. This is definitely a Windows machine. It's running a XAMPP server. And, we're in this plugins checkout folder. Okay, so that's great. You can also see what kind of privileges we have. And the great thing here is that you see NT authority system. Now, one thing you need to note is that you can't just traverse the file system this way. If you knew what was in, so you might be able to do like, you might be able to do this. I don't know. I haven't tried this. We'll see if that'll run. But really, it's running a new shell every single time. That's the problem you run into here. So the easiest way is to get, some kind of real shell instead of this. Yeah, so path is invalid path specified here. So we're going to find a way to actually get a real shell. So we'll leave this HTTP server up, and we are going to use the certutil command to upload a shell. So it's a relatively simple thing to do. You're going to want to go and run MSF Venom to create yourself a shell. And if you need the commands to do that, there's a great cheat sheet by Red Team Tutorials. You can do this Windows Meterpreter versus TCP shell. Okay, so MSF Venom-P, Windows Meterpreter versus TCP. And then your IP address and a port of your choosing. I use 1234. File type executable, shell.exe. And if you look at my box here, I've done that, and it's in the exploit folder. Okay, so it's right there, shell.exe. I'm already serving it up because this is where my web server is running from. So the next piece is to go back over to boats, type certutil, tech URL cache, tech F for file, and then browse to that same file location. This is why I used port 80 to keep it simple. 10.10.0.11, and now I'm uploading shell.exe, and I'm saving it on that system as shell.exe. We'll go ahead and run this command, and when it does load, it'll take a minute, but when it does load, you'll see a get/shell.exe pop up here. Once that's done, the last step of this box is to run a reverse shell in Meterpreter, and then run that shell.exe command from this web shell, and you'll gain access to the system. This part can take a minute, though, so let's be patient and watch it happen. Hopefully not too long for everyone. While this runs, we can go ahead and check back on our auto recon. And this is kind of why I think it's running so slow. So you see a lot of tasks kicking off here with auto recon. It's enumerating still everything out there. There's really a lot of ports open on this Windows machine, so we'll go ahead and kill that. It says there's 5 tasks still running, so I shouldn't really be seeing this kind of a slowdown, but let's see what we get here. There we go, get shell.exe. So we're seeing it happen. Come on now. Sometimes this does get a little finicky. You might have to close your browser and reload it. I didn't have to reset the box at all. But anyways, once this shell finishes, we'll go ahead and set up our Meterpreter listener now. So we'll go ahead and browse out here, MSF console. Hopefully we didn't break this. So we're going to use exploit multi-handler, and then we're going to set our payload to the same thing we did before. So Windows Meterpreter reverse TCP. We'll set our L host to our ton0, and we'll set our L port to the same thing you set when you made your MSF Venom shell. Okay, and then we can run this. Last thing, we saw that we got shell.exe. We can confirm it's here just by running a directory. But really the last thing we need to do is run command shell.exe. You see here I've got my shell. It did take a little bit, 73K. Okay, yeah. So we'll run command.exe and call the command shell.exe. And once this runs, you should see that interpreter shell pick up on this right window. So this was a pretty fun box to do. Relatively simple across the board. Really, the trick is the enumeration stage. There's a lot of ports. I typically don't start with port 80 other than a simple browse, but as soon as I see a WordPress site with plugins, I get excited. So again, here we have a interpreter shell. We already confirmed that the web shell is running as ntauthority/system. So our shell should be doing the same. And as you can see, this box does run a little slow. But if I do a who am I do get back ntauthority/system. So if you browse to users, you'll see that James is indeed a user here. We can go to his desktop and we can see access.txt, and we can go to the administrator's desktop and see system.txt, which are our two flags for this. I will leave actually typing out those flags to each of you. I want to thank everyone that's been using YouTube and watching the walkthroughs, and I hope they've been helpful for everyone. Again, if you have any questions, please come into the Discord and ask away. I've got a great community ready to help anybody learn. Take care and keep hacking, everyone.